I like to give the analogy of wearing glasses. Oftentimes our society gives us moral glasses, and based on those moral glasses, you will look at Quran and Sunnah and you will see certain things like popping out and punching you in the face and the gut. If you just take those glasses off, like the glasses of postmodernism, hopefully you wouldn't see such a crazy, revolting reaction. One thing that will really help you save your iman is to realize that your moral reaction to things are often a moral construct. Now, fancy language, what this simply means is that your society often shapes what you feel morally outraged by. If you don't realize that, you will come across a ruling in Islam and you'll become morally outraged thinking, if you're not intellectually humble, my moral reaction is the ultimate word on this matter. So, you come across the fact that in Islam, a man gets 2 shares of inheritance and a lady gets 1. If you are swayed by radical feminism, what are you going to read in? Let's see if you guys are still alive and breathing. What are you going to read in? You're going to read inequality, or what's that old word I told you about? You're going to read in oppression. See? These misogynistic mullahs and blah, 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 and there you go. You're going to reinforce the narrative that society has been peddling for a while now. But if you actually dive deep in, you realize actually in Islam, the portions of inheritance are divided according to who is financially responsible. So, between the siblings, let's say there's one guy, one brother and one sister. Guy gets 2, lady gets 1, yeah? But as soon as the parents who just passed away, who's financially responsible for running the household is the guy. The lady gets to keep her share, she does not have to spend a penny. He has to leave his college if he has to and go work, which kind of what happened to my in-laws. When Hina's father passed away, my brother-in-law had to stop all his career plans and he had to go to work to support his family. So Islam gives them 2 portions because someone has to pay for the funeral expenses potentially. Someone has to keep the lights on and the roof on the top, and that is a man's responsibility. So the man is, and this is the principle in Islam, al-ghunumu bil-ghurum, translated as the one who bears the liability gets the resources. If you don't know that, you're not open-minded, then you lose sight of the fact that oftentimes your moral reactions are shaped by your society. I like to give the analogy of wearing glasses. Oftentimes our society gives us moral glasses, and based on those moral glasses, you will look at Quran and Sunnah and you will see certain things like popping out and punching you in the face and the gut. If you just take those glasses off, like the glasses of postmodernism, hopefully you wouldn't see such a crazy, revolting reaction. One thing I'd like to share with you is a famous story when Muslims first encountered the Vikings. So one of our scholars, Ibn Fadlan, he was sent on a mission by the Abbasid government, and by the Volga River, which is in Russia, he came across what he describes as the Rus, which are the Russians. But anyway, they were the Vikings. And he gives us a first detailed, a dispassionate account of Vikings' way of life. And it's quite graphic and horrible. I didn't want to do dirty to you all. Right before food, I give you their graphic way of life. But one thing I will tell you is that he observed a burial ritual while he's hanging out with the Vikings. The way they would bury their noblemen is that they would take this rich person who just passed away, and they would go to his slaves and they would ask which of the slaves wants to accompany the master into the hereafter. And a slave would be chosen and he would be killed alongside the master. Then they take 2 horses and run them to exhaustion, and then they slaughter the horses, cut them up in pieces, and throw the meat into the boat. And the boat is where the master is. Then they do the same thing to 2 cows, and then the slave that has been chosen will be drinking wine till the day it's ready to bid all of them farewell. And then of course, in a very graphic manner, which I won't describe, he would be killed, and then they would bid the boat a farewell by setting it on fire. Now, I describe this to you because Ibn Fadlan, who's describing this, he says there was a Viking who was like my interpreter. And I'm talking to him about what's taking place, and I'm like, why are they burning it, and so on and so forth, yeah? And I'm asking about the different rituals they're doing. And the person, the interpreter, turns around and tells Ibn Fadlan, you Arabs are fools. After the graphic, grotesque thing they just did, he turns to the Arabs and doubles down. He says, you Arabs are fools. You take your noblemen and you bury them inside the ground where they're eaten by bugs and roaches. Look at us. Look at the treatment we give to our noblemen. We bid them farewell by burning them, because as soon as they're burned, their journey to hereafter begins. Your noblemen, they first have to be eaten by roaches and bugs. Look at the way moral reaction is proceeding here. how brainwashed this person is that he thinks burying on the ground is the immoral thing, and burning someone along with the slave is actually the moral thing. Your society shapes your morality. We take our cues from our society. If homosexuality has not taught us that, I don't know what will. When in 1988, only 11% of Americans support homosexuality. Today, 2 out of 3 Americans support homosexuality. Bestiality was always outlawed, folks. Now, having an intimate relationship with your pet is something that the culture is opening up doors to. And I know some of you are revolting right now, and rightfully so, because that's your fitrah speaking. But our society is opening doors to certain things that were never opened before. وَنَسَّلُ اللَّهَ الْعَافِيَةَ.